Welcome, everybody, to a new year, January 4th, 2023 Town Board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can we just have a moment of silence for Mr. James Mosman and Christine, a very good friend of my friend Loretta. Just a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Councilmember Daniele.
Present.
Councilmember Istvan.
Here.
Supervisor Alba.
Here.
Councilmember Foreman.
Here.
Councilmember Rye.
Here.
I just got a couple corrections on the agenda. I want to move items number 25 and 28 from consent to regular resolution. And I want to change one word on number 9. It's not reappoint town historian, it's to reappoint one of the board members to AOT training in New York City in February.
It's actually the dues.
I'm sorry, say what?
It's the AOT dues.
It's the dues.
AOT dues, okay.
We'll
AOT
correct the title.
dues.
Can we make another amendment?
Yeah.
On 8180,
Which one, what number is that one?
Number.
81. Okay, I gotta look at the number here.
Yep.
it is related to the Association of Towns. We're going to vote for Brian to be the delegate, John Foreman to be the alternate. We're going to switch that around.
Okay.
John, I'm going to be the delegate, and Brian's going to be the alternate.
On 8180?
8180.
Any other changes? 8180. Anybody else with any suggestions, changes? Okay, I present all that in the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up is the acceptance of minutes for the town board meeting, December 21st, 2022. Everybody okay with that? I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Next up is introduction of new employees. No, nobody here today? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have no new employees here tonight. Privilege of the floor is up next for general town items. Anybody want to speak? There's like 2 people here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, watching on TV. Nobody? Don't want to say hello? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Next up is supervisor comments and announcement. We had a moment of silence a couple minutes ago. We have one very distinguished Fishkill Glenham resident who passed away, and I'd just like to read some information on him. We lost a great man recently. His name is James Mosman. He was 88 years old. He passed away on Sunday, December 25th at the firefighters' home in Hudson, New York, with his wife of 62 years, Barbara, at his side. 62 years of commitment to his wife. He was born in 1934 in the family home adjacent to the Fishkill Creek in Glenham. So he was born right down by the Fishkill Creek. He attended Glenham Union Free School, which doesn't exist today, and graduated. It does?
Does the one on the Texas property, the one in the back there?
It's still here?
No.
Oh, it's gone, yeah. So it doesn't exist anymore, but that was on the Texaco's property, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he graduated Beacon High School in 1952. In 1960, he married his wife Barbara at the Hopewell Reformed Church, and he was survived by his sons, and he was a great man. He worked for Texaco for 41 years. He served his country as a member of the 156th Field Artillery Regiment of the Army of the National Guard based in Newburgh from 1952 to 1960. He was a lifetime member of the Slater Chemical Company in Glenham. So, a very good man, very great man, that we lost a great citizen recently. So, just want to let everybody in Fishkill know that we have these great people that live here and pass away. Next up is going to be liaison reports. We'll start with Councilman Rye. You got anything?
Nothing, actually, this week.
Good. John?
No, I just hope everybody had a Happy New Year, and looking forward to a good 2023.
Thank you. Carmine?
Same as I reported last meeting. I have nothing else to report.
Louise?
I don't have much. There were no meetings to attend during the holidays. The rec center is starting their teen night for 5th through 8th grade. The information's on the website. The seniors have brain games on January 17th. You can call the rec center to sign up, and there's a book club on January 19th at 12:30 p.m.
Thank you. So we have no presentations.
Wait, one more, sorry.
Oh.
I just have a question
Yes.
regarding that. Is it only seniors who are part of the
Book club?
rec center that can be part of the book club?
I don't think so.
Or is it?
I think
open to-
anybody can, yeah. I
Okay.
believe so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I did say that under seniors.
You done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Next up for discussions. First one is to discussion of resolution to establish the standard workday for employees. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. So that'll go for consent. Number two, discussion of resolution to approve the town clerk and tax receiver contracts for 2023. Everybody okay with that? Consent?
Yep.
Number three, discussion of affordable housing for disabled veterans and volunteer firefighters. Mr. Galba, any update on that?
Yes, I looked further into the matter as we discussed at previous meetings, and I'm sure you all recall that the first question was, what can the town do in regard to disabled veterans and volunteer firefighters, particularly in regard to the housing trust fund monies that the town has collected? And I'm afraid that the answer is not much more than you're already doing. Towns are conferred only the powers that they have by statute. By statute, towns do not have power to provide resources for, particularly for housing of veterans or volunteer firefighters. You cannot run public housing. What you can do is create a public housing authority. Now, public housing authorities are separate and apart from municipality. You would be creating a different municipal corporation. The city of Beacon, for example, has a public housing authority. Public housing authorities can own real property and run public housing. You currently have in your code a provision for you call it affordable housing, it's really workforce housing. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it sets certain parameters for the income that the residents of the housing have to have, and then in regard to allowing for purchase or lease of the housing, you set a criteria which has a point system. Among the weighted criteria under the point system are if you're a veteran or if you're a volunteer fireman. That includes teachers, and you have a number of other public servants and first responders listed. But it's not exclusive to them. The criteria that you have, like I said, can favor them, but not to the exclusion of everyone else. In addition to creating a housing authority, there are a number of affordable housing programs that you could look into, but I don't think you're going to be able to do in terms of the goal of assisting veterans and volunteer first responders much more than you're already doing under your affordable housing / workforce housing. That leaves the question of what to be done with the housing trust fund that you have created under your code. And I got to tell you, I haven't found a lot of towns that have housing trust funds. Dutchess County has one. Up in Columbia County, the city of Hudson has a housing trust fund. And there isn't a lot of statutory law or even regulatory guidance on the limitations on a housing trust fund. Normally, they're set up as a vehicle to receive state or federal funds or even private donations, and then use that money toward taking steps to encourage affordable housing within your municipality. Your code basically sets up that framework. Under your code section, it says that it's set up to administer, of course, defray the cost of administering your workforce housing / affordable housing program. It says that it's there to also allow you to construct improvements, municipal infrastructure, not limited to roads, water, sewer, drainage improvements, in order to encourage affordable housing. So if you had an area where you wanted to encourage developers to put in affordable housing, you could put in water, sewer, improved roadways, whatever it is that you think is appropriate for the particular purpose of encouraging not only affordable housing in general, but if you had a particular affordable housing, in this case workforce, of course, housing project to expedite development of that. And lastly, and this is something you're really going to have to look into much further if you're interested in pursuing this. I know you have some money in the trust fund. But the other housing trust funds, Dutchess, and the one that I looked into was the city of Hudson, afford grants to developers who undertake to construct affordable housing of the type that you select. Now, you wouldn't, of course, just give them the money. There'd have to be a developer's agreement that they're going to construct apartment buildings, single-family homes, whatever it may be, subject to your workforce housing regulations, and you could assist in construction of those developments. Now, your code specifically says that you have to develop a program of grants or loans, and it's only to not-for-profit entities. It isn't just to developers in general. Excuse me, it's for not-for-profit or for-profit entities. It's either. It's both of them. But you can't just ad hoc make grants. You would have to come up with a program of, in order to qualify for money from this fund, you need to check these boxes, meet this criteria, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of things that you could do if you were interested in pursuing that route with your Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the money that's in it. Now, will that benefit disabled veterans and volunteer first responders directly? No, it will not. It would have to be available to everyone. But again, I mean, who meet the criteria for the affordable housing. But again, you could weight the availability of the units in favor of those people, you know, to a fair degree.
By a point system.
In order to, exactly, in order to benefit them to the extent that you can.
So let's say there's a developer that's putting up 100 units in the town. Can we work with the developer to add 10 units that the town would have? Is that permissible?
They would not be the town's units. They could be affordable units regulated by the town. But yes, you can.
Mr. Gaba, if, I'm not sure what the state plans to do with Downstate Correctional Facility, but if there was something that they were doing that we created the Public Housing Authority and some type of workforce housing, could we work with the state to develop some kind of housing in there?
Well, those are two different concepts. If you created a housing authority, it would be a separate municipal entity. You would not make decisions for the housing authority. It would make decisions on its own. However, in setting it up, you might be able to convince it to go out and if it had the funds, buy Downstate or what you will, and then run that as public housing. That
Not
is
even all of it, just like part
mammoth
of it.
undertaking.
No, not all of it. I just meant to work with them to maybe make a part of it.
To work
Workforce
with who, the
housing.
state?
Yeah.
Yes, you could use money in your Affordable Housing Trust Fund to work with the state and either profit or not-for-profit developers. If you know, it's the state's property. that
Right,
you're,
right.
You know, but I mean, if you could get an agreement to develop it in that respect, yes, you could.
Okay.
Now, affordable housing, workforce housing, you already have on the books. You can tinker with the terms if you have a mind to, but it really, other than, as I said earlier, developing infrastructure for it, or possibly working with an individual developer, if you can come up with a grant program, you really, there's really nothing more to be done with it.
So I would have to, so if there's a person that wants to put 100 homes in, and we say, let's get 10 more units built, we have to have a grant to do that,
Well, you
or just a
could
town
work-
board resolution?
Well, the town board resolution would be by grant. First, I think you could establish a program for grants as provided in your code without amending the code, because it already says for you to, if you wish to establish such a program. So you would develop such a program. I would think you'd want to form a committee or something to hash out the terms of it, then bring it to the town board. Town board adopts a resolution. This is our program for grants. And then you could direct it toward whatever developers you had in mind to.
This commission, that would be a separate entity, what is the composition of that governing authority?
That's what we had to
The
develop.
Public Housing Authority?
Yeah, just curious for it, does any other towns do anything like that?
Yeah, the city of Beacon has a housing authority.
City of Hudson, he said.
There's a
No,
city-
I'm giving you an example.
You're
I'm sorry.
confusing.
Okay.
The city of Beacon has a housing authority. The
Right.
city of Hudson has a affordable housing trust fund.
Right.
So,
You can,
Trust
but it doesn't belong to the city of Beacon.
I
The city-
understand. But they appoint the board of directors,
Who
and
appoints them?
the mayor does.
Okay, that's what, so the town board would appoint, like we appoint the planning board, we appoint the zoning board?
Not
No?
exactly the same thing. They aren't under your jurisdiction. Once they're appointed, they're free. It's a separate municipal entity. They do what they want.
But how long is their
But they have to get
terms?
reappointed.
Yes, they do, they are subject to reappointment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not for that.
That's like a big undertaking.
Yeah.
Look, if you're like the city of Beacon and you had a lot of, I think they worked with those properties along the river, I'm not sure
Yeah,
exactly.
They
Davis
have
Terrace.
Forestville Heights
Yeah.
and
Davis.
Fish Plaza.
And you want to purchase properties and have the municipality develop them and either sell them or have somebody run them for you, or even run them yourself, it makes good sense. For a city with a dense population, it's kind of, a town's more spread out. It's really not the type of thing that you would have. I mean, you could, if it was big enough to be on Long Island or something, maybe, it makes sense to me. But upstate, not so much. You could do it, but it's a lot of work.
Only thing I see that this will promote a lot more development, or developers trying to say, yes, if you help them with infrastructure, that they would develop in the town. So I think we'd have maybe an uptake of developers coming to try to develop, even though we're going to help them some monies
No,
for some of the
no.
affordable units.
Mr. Gabbard said we could help with the roads, the water, and the sewer. I don't plan on doing that. I don't plan on spending any money to benefit a developer. If a developer's got 100 homes there and he's got the lot, I would consider adding 10 homes and we pay for it somehow, some matter through a grant or something. But there's no way I'm building a road or run water and sewer lines for a developer. That ain't happening. That's not going to happen.
You could always enter a developer's agreement with them under which you put in the infrastructure, and in return, they commit to, they have to be recorded with the clerk and everything, maintain 10, 20, whatever it is, affordable units in the development.
Which is what's happened in the past, and that's an avenue that's worth reviewing right there, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we have 2 affordable housing units in the town of Fishkill. Affordable housing is a big deal in New York now because it's expensive to live. We have Rocky Glen, about 88 units, and we got Horizons on 90, another 90 or so units. And it's good to have some affordable housing for people. But
So with that-
Fishkill does its share of affordable housing in Dutchess County.
Well, with that in mind, I can't help but bring up this point that when Toll Brothers was here about this recent, sewer, water line agreement, they're already talking about buying back affordable housing. So if we're in the middle of trying to maintain and develop more affordable housing, why would we even want to entertain that kind of conversation with Toll Brothers is a question.
I understand you 100%, and it's frustrating, but the reason is affordable housing is difficult when the person owns the property. I think affordable housing should be more based on like apartments. So you're dealing with condos that could be worth $600,000, $700,000 in the affordable housing portfolio. So what happens is that it'll be, say, a couple that's not married. They have $1 million home in Florida, and then one spouse just is on Social Security. They qualify for one of these expensive units in the town of Fishkill. So then you have these units going to people that really don't deserve them. But it's written in the code, and the second part I don't like about the code is that we don't get to prioritize Fishkill residents for these first. That's a difficult thing. So if we build things or help people, we have people from the outside taking advantage of that. We should be helping our own residents first. So it's a crazy dynamic with those buyouts, and I'll be asking to support to get the buyouts if certain conditions are made. But we're going to have about 100 units over here by the Katz property coming up at the next planning board meeting for discussion, and there's going to be affordable housing units there. That's an apartment complex, and I will not be recommending to the board to buy back any of those rentals. But it's a rental, so you got ownership and then you got rentals. Mr. Gabb, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that, and I'm not advocating for Toll Brothers in any respect as far as that goes, I'm just using it as an example. Sometimes you have these units, they're very difficult to sell, or you have so few units placed that they're difficult to market. And there are places, like you mentioned, apartment complexes, where affordable housing goes like hotcakes. It's no problem. You have young couples, you have, people of moderate income, and they want a rental. They go in there. Ownership is something else altogether. You have a much narrower class of people who are looking to buy and who meet the criteria. So if you have a couple of units in a development that's otherwise pretty much completed, it may make sense to buy them back. But, you got to look at the circumstances of the individual situation and say, all right, are these units that we want to be? Are they suitable for affordable housing? Or is this one of those instances where we're really better off taking the funds and just letting it be market rate?
Any other question, guys?
Where did you say the apartment complex was?
I think it was Regency might have 2 and maybe 1 in Fishkill Woods. I'm not exactly sure that number. And these are people manipulate their taxes to get in there, and they've got a brand-new Mercedes in the parking lot, so it's defeating what the spirit of the law is. And I wholly support it for when they build 100 homes across the street, and there's 4 or 5 affordable housing units, I will never ask to get that bought out, because that makes sense. And people are moving. They get better jobs, the kids get out of school, and, they move on with their life to buy their own home. And there's a cycle. Instead of somebody can get one of these houses and keep them for 20 years, that, unfair advantage. And that's the difficulty with this affordable housing. And we're in this New York City metro area, so the state might consider an affordable housing unit for one bedroom $1,600. Is that even affordable? So you're talking about a lot of dynamics. But I do like, Councilwoman Daniele, about your comments about downstate. The state did their report. The state does have an agenda to add housing in New York State, and we'll see what transpires. It could be a piece of land maybe for some workforce housing.
That report, which is out, we should all take a look at it, because there's going to be, I don't know when they're going to release money from the state. Supposedly they're releasing money, and we'll be working with the towns, and there's going to be public engagement, so that's a whole process. Who knows when and how long that's going to take, but, we got to wrap our heads around that report that just came out.
Yeah, we need to stick together as a board to make sure we don't get taken advantage by the state.
Right.
So that's the most important things. But we did get a copy of that, and then we did an e-gov a couple months ago, about less than a month ago, advising the citizens of Fishkill what the status is. And once I get any updates, I'll let you guys know, and we'll advise the citizens too. So for now, I want to close this. Everybody okay with that? Something new pops up, new idea, we'll add something else. So Becky, close it out. Next 4 are going to be about naming roads after, the first one about renaming Route 9 after Sergeant Elijah Briggs. He's buried in Fishkill Rural Cemetery. He's a Medal of Honor recipient from the Civil War. That's going to be for a resolution tonight. Anybody have any questions on that?
I just had my same opinion from last time. I think possibly engraving their names or putting plaques for them in our war memorial is a better and safer way for people to see and read about them and their accomplishments. I know Brian was looking into grants for the sword. If he is, maybe he could actually look into something, some plaques that had to do with these people as well.
Okay. The second road name would be after Route 82, after Corporal Derek Franklin Bickerhoff. He was killed in Korea. I think he's the only Fishkill casualty in Korea. His family goes back to the Revolutionary War, where his ancestors were actual generals and worked the supply depot. Any questions on this one? Next one would be number 6, discussion to rename 9D after Private Sidney Schofield, no relation to the current Schofields. I think it was 19 years old and was killed in the only casualty in the Spanish-American War. Any questions on that? And the next one would be naming Route 52 after my favorite guy, Chief Nimam, from the Beacon line on Route 52 to the East Fishkill line on 52, which will cross the statue. We all know about him. Any questions on that? Next up for discussion is number 8, discussion of resolution to reauthorize the town of Fishkill to renew a license agreement with Little League. The town attorney mentioned something earlier. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, it's a technicality, Ozzy. I'm sorry to bring it up, but the proposal is to extend the license, for 5 years. And what the existing agreement provides is that the license period can be extended 5 years, but 1 year at a time annually. In other words, it comes up, you extend it, it comes up, you can't do it in a chunk, a block of 5 years, which is what the proposal is. So what the board would need to do is either approve an amendment to the existing license agreement just to extend the term for 5 years, or you can do a rider, which would say that you can extend it in a 5-year block as opposed to annually.
Can we do that today, right now?
Well, you really need to have the document drawn up. You don't have a revised license agreement and you don't have a rider. So it isn't time sensitive. It doesn't run out until 2024. So we can put that together for the next town board meeting, and you can approve it either. Which one? Does the board have a preference as to how they do this?
Solid 5 years or once a year for 5 years? Does it matter?
No. It's either an amendment to the term in the existing license agreement to make it run from 2002 through 2008, I guess, 2028, pardon me. or you can have an amendment saying that you can extend it for a 5-year period.
As of that date that we wrote on it.
Exactly. It's all the same in the end, it's just whichever way you want to do
What do you
it.
want to do?
I like the second part.
5-year block?
So you want
Yes.
to rider to the existing
Yes.
agreement. That's actually easier.
That's fine.
Okay. Hey, John?
That sounds good.
Mr. Gabby, can you do that?
Yeah, well, for next,
Wait, Is this in the consent? It is, hold on a second. I'm okay with it. Maybe it was just for discussion?
I think it was just discussion.
no, it's
No,
on
I
for
think it
resolution.
was.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I read all this stuff, it's running together.
I think it's number 12 under the consent agenda.
Yes.
Yes. So when I get to consent, we'll make an amendment to take that out. All right?
There it is.
Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, next up is discussion to reappoint,
Sorry, I just want to make sure, we're tabling it to next meeting then?
yeah, we'll table this to the next meeting.
Okay.
The 18th, thank you. Next up is number 9, discussion to reappoint Association of Town Representatives. We had on the thing, what was it, Brian and John, and we want to
I
reverse
think
that?
this is the dues,
Yes.
isn't it?
No, this is a different one.
No,
This is town
This is the
historian.
dues.
Town historian.
This town historian.
number 9, the title is wrong.
Okay.
It is the AOT dues, and all the documents are correct on the computer, the title is wrong. So we'll just amend the title, but it is about the dues.
It's not the dues.
So we have to amend the subject?
Yeah, we amended it in the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for catching that.
So this just be for the dues, so the dues will be $1,500 a year.
Wow.
Okay? Good? All right. Number 10, discussion to assign a road name to Doug Phillips Park, vehicle entrance path. I have no idea what we should name this one after. Anybody have any plans, ideas?
Well, I just had a question. I asked Carmine, I don't know if you found the answer out, but what constitutes like the width for it to be a road instead of a driveway or a path?
It'll meet regulation. Only thing I was concerned about, we could think about the names, it'll meet regulation.
Does it?
Yes, it does.
Because-
When they build them for traffic, so it should meet it. We can do a test on the road to see, its compaction, which it should be fine.
My concern was only because I met people in HOAs down off of 9D when I was knocking on doors, and they were upset because their roads could not be town roads because they weren't wide enough. So I just want to make sure that we're following the rules to be able to do something that other people
That's
can't.
just the title's wrong.
Sure, we'll look into that for sure, a little bit more. But for 911 purposes, Supervisor, like if someone's on, say, Doug Phillip Park, and they're in an accident, would they say, I'm on Carmine Way at the park, or should we call it Doug Phillips Way?
The way, I'd say put the way on everything.
We just did a resolution for a naming of a private road. I was in contact with the county gentleman that does that. I'm going to make an appointment for me to talk to him, and I'll have an answer for you at the next meeting. I don't know. Makes sense. Park or road? Yeah.
And why are we doing it again? What's the purpose of it again? Just like, so why didn't they do it originally? So what is,
Well, we're going to do it so we can use state aid to pave the roads.
so they weren't smart enough to do that when they first did it?
How many things have we fixed since we've been here, Louise?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, so it could have been done in the past, and now we're going to do it now. to
How
get
many
money.
things that could have done and been in the past that
I
we've
have no idea.
corrected?
Very many. We did a lot.
Okay.
That was
So,
my question.
if we're not sure of a name, if we, just as an example, Doug Phillips Way, Shepherd's Way, or
Yeah, I agree.
Maurer Way, that's something that we could think about, and later on, name it after somebody that we feel is honorable to have that.
Yeah, and if anybody watching tonight
Consistency's easy.
can let us know, too. Anybody watching tonight can, but I'd like to see somebody with Fishkill with some gravitas. We're going to work on naming the new bridge after Mr. Mosman, so, somebody with some ties to the town of Fishkill, I'd like to see that. The only one I can think of is Mr. Bailey, who was, we'll get with Mr. Bailey, who forged Washington's sword, Gearing Park Way. That road was named at first Bailey Way, and then they changed the name. So that's the only one I'd like to see as a park, Bailey Way going into Guerin Park. But the other two, I have no idea. I can't figure.
On the park.
So anybody has any ideas for the next meeting or whatever? This doesn't have to be done soon, but
Okay.
we'll figure it out. So I'll table this for about a month. First February meeting for the next, what do we got here? Items number
So all of them, right? The table and all?
10, 11, and 12.
10, 11, and 12. Table
Yeah.
in February?
Yep. And guys, if you don't, anybody watching, go through the history books. We want to promote our history.
They were just discussions.
Yeah, just discussions.
So Arnold, if you're watching,
Yeah, break up the books. There was a name of one gentleman who was the first supervisor of Fishkill back, I think in 1748. I think it's Swart, S-W-A-R-O-U-T. He was a general in the Revolution, too. So he was actually the first supervisor of the town of Fishkill, which was East Fishkill and Wappingers. So that's one thing, that's a possibility.
that's interesting.
Yeah, so there was a supervisor in Fishkill prior to the country being formed. All right. Next up is number 13, discussion of adopting a local law providing volunteer firefighter and ambulance workers a property tax exemption under real property tax law, section 466 Adam. John, would you like to start with that?
I think, Brian, we are in the process of contacting the chiefs, because what we need to do is find out how many people are we going to have that are going to be eligible for the exemptions, so we can contact the assessor's office and figure out how much this is going to cost the town.
Thank you.
But I will say that, we talk about giving every possible resource to our volunteers, and the state just did a major first step by allowing the entire 10% for eligible volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. So we should do whatever we can on our end.
Brian?
Without a doubt, it's all the meetings that John and I coordinated with all the fire districts. This is certainly one of the things that was brought up multiple times, and lo and behold, it's here. So I know they weren't reading our minds. They're listening to a lot of people around the state. This pressure is on all fire districts in the state and around the country. There's no doubt about it. So I look forward to us enacting this. I know we will. I did reach out to every fire district to have them send all the information on the volunteers in their district that have a primary residence in town of Fishkill. They did promise to get that to me pretty quickly, so I will have that before the next meeting. I also had an email exchange with Chris Harkins, our assessor, and with Sharon Mitchell, comptroller, and with Sharon, this is no impact. We can review that another time, but Chris, of course, just in order to run the numbers, he needs the addresses, and we'll be getting that, so.
See, for a month is good? So we'll table it for a month?
I would say.
Wait, what?
We're going to table this for a month.
Oh, we have a certain time limit.
Well, that's the thing, Ozzy.
You're talking for, we're not going to get this done for 24.
Yeah.
Fine, that's no
Yeah.
problem.
I don't want to make a mistake and then
No.
have them mad at me.
A lot of
and-
municipalities taking the same position, that's fine.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. Mr. Gabbard, maybe you could look into this. For volunteer firefighters, they have to be active, of course, but they have a certain criteria to meet, and I'm not sure if it relates to the legislation. If we have a new volunteer fireman sign up today, because they know they're going to get this tax exemption, they have to meet a certain criteria, meeting a certain amount of calls and services. Anybody can sign up and get a 10%?
No, that's not true.
That's
No, I'm asking.
I think they have to have a two years in the fire district.
Before they can
Minimum
apply.
2 years.
2 years.
Before they,
Once you're in 2
eligible for
years,
this.
if you're still on the active roster, there's no minimum amount of fire calls or activity of any kind.
So they can be on for 2 years and they don't have to do any fire calls ever again?
Well, they'd be in good standing. If they're in good standing, then, yeah, they get the deduction.
they're not going to be considered active unless they hit their standards within the fire district.
Yes, but each fire district can have different standards.
But what I'm saying is, for Adam to be an active fireman, he's got to make a certain amount of drills, a certain amount of calls, and at the end of the year, the fire chief is going to have to send us a form saying, here's the eligible active fireman, and then we can go ahead and process.
That's it. I think we need to put some onus on the chiefs, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we
We have a say in that, criteria.
Can we write that into a resolution that the chiefs of the following fire departments yearly have to give us an update of who has done their,
Well, the
or
thing
is that too
about
much?
that is, the town can't compel fire chiefs to do anything.
Okay.
So you can put
I
it in
agree
your code
with
if you
that.
have a mind to, but it's, if you're a firefighter and you want the exemption, what you want to be able to do is take the form, and actually the state's promulgated a form, and file it with the assessor along with a letter from your fire company saying you are in good standing.
that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
That's fine.
I got a letter in good standing, that's good enough.
But how often do you have to, you should update that?
Every year, every
You
year,
want to apply for the exemption every year, you got to get the letter in there.
every year. All right, so table this, John and Brian said a month.
February, yep.
That's first meeting of February. We'll have some more information and we'll start moving on it. Next up, to appoint Peter Suzuka as Highway Department Motor Vehicle Equipment Operator. Any questions on that?
No, that's very good.
And the number 15, discussion of resolution to accept resignation of Police Officer John Cronin. He's been a police officer here for a long time.
I believe he wanted to make sure it was, that he was retiring, not resigning.
Yes, so this is the letter he wrote to the town, to the chief. Sometimes it takes a tap on the shoulder to let you know it's time to go. In August, that realization hit me. I've worked in this career since 1990 as an effort to provide extra income to my family. When I was canvassed by multiple departments for full-time positions within Orange County, I turned those offers down since ironically I was making more in the military at the time. So he's also a veteran. Thank you for your service. I applied here in December of 1999. I was interviewed by then Chief Don Williams because the department was adding an overnight shift beginning in January of 2000, and I was hired among others to fill that shift. The department has grown tremendously throughout the years, from operating out of a patrol car trunk to a one-car garage on Woods Place, to the basement of the town hall, and finally to the envious new station with a copper roof. In other words, I've seen it all. With all said, and not to drone on and on, my official last day will be the 15th of this month, and it's been a pleasure to be part of this department, to be part of its growing pains, its accomplishments, and to meet many great people along the way. This is a retirement, not a resignation. I wish everyone well, to be safe and to go home at the end of their shifts, and I will send separate emails to his patriots, with all respect. So, thank you very much for your service, Mr. Cronin. Any questions on this?
No, I just want to say to Officer Cronin, thank you very much for your dedicated service to this town. We appreciate it very much, and you will be missed.
Thank you, Brian. Next up is a resolution to waive the 30-day liquor license. We do this all the time for the courtyard. Any questions?
No.
No.
17, a discussion of resolution to authorize Vanderwater to do our tax certs. Mr. Barnett does a great job on these. I know me and Louise don't like them, but it's reality. Any questions? All right. Number 8, I was going to create a police body camera committee, but Louise was doesn't want to do it, and
It's not that I don't want to do it, I sent the email respectfully declining, because I'm working on 3 projects right now in the town, so
And
I just
Brian,
don't have
it's
the
not
time to
necessary,
dedicate to it.
There's an email put out there with a lot of questions, right, Louise? And I think that the chief provided a link to this legislation, and we need to review that. I think just we need to talk to the chief, and, if there needs to be some sort of engagement along these lines, but I feel like those front-end questions, which is all the criteria of the money, and et cetera, are a good thing to find out. So I know the chief was working on this. He's been reviewing it a long time. I know he was hoping to act fast because prices, like everything else, are going up this year, and he wanted to save money within these funds by jumping on it, and I appreciate, and I know we all appreciate his effort to do that, but I think we need to understand the allocation and the fine print.
But I'm sorry, not only that, the link that he sent was, it was a draft, it wasn't the official one, I don't think.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere,
All
so
of
it
the
doesn't
questions
matter.
that Sharon sent us, I think we absolutely need to
Yeah.
go through them and make sure we know, do we get the money? What are the
And I think we have to spend it this
ramifications?
year. I don't think we can, that's
Well,
one of the
whatever
big
it is,
questions.
I think we need it in writing before we move forward.
Did that email get forwarded to the chief? Maybe he can just answer those for us.
I think he was on the chain.
Was
Well,
he
I
on
think,
the-
how about I make you the liaison, just you and the chief? to figure out.
Okay.
So what I need to know is, if we have to buy this stuff in one shot, because we only have to put it out for bid, those are my questions. Do we need to
Right.
spend the money on one shot?
Right.
And like I said, do we have to put it out for bid? Those are my two concerns.
Yeah.
And if there's money, I'd like to, Brian, what I'd like to see is how Beacon does it. When an officer makes an arrest, he has the body camera on, they take him out to the patrol car, they bring him into the building. There's cameras within the building showing the suspect going through the motions. There was a use of force complaint against a Beacon police officer, and they had those cameras, and they totally exonerated the officers. So I'd like to get that tool added into that, especially if we have to spend all the money this year.
Do we, though? That's what I think we need to see everything in writing.
That's why
so-
I'm saying, I don't want to go piecemeal if I got somebody to go back and forth, because we're talking, those watching, we did get the $600,000 grant from the federal government through Congressman Maloney, so that came through, that was voted on in the federal budget a couple of weeks ago. So we're getting some nice cameras paid for by the federal government.
For myself, I'm looking forward to what it all is in writing, because $600,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the end, when it runs out, we want to make sure what the cost is going to be for the people in the future, so.
So Brian?
Yeah, I mean, an initial response to that, Louise, and again, I'm not the expert, but
Right.
very good point, is that, the technology and the money to manage the system, from what I'm learning, and not expert on yet, but we'll find out, will last 10 years, because there's all this management of it, and there's all this software, there's all this training, and there are all these personnel that have to handle all of this. So when the technology runs out, the money runs out, and maybe it'll be time to renew again, but that's, a process we'll find.
Yeah, once we get these cameras in here, they're going to be here forever, that's the
Yeah.
bottom line. And I got to be honest with you, the cameras really saved the town's bacon regarding the incident at Rocky Glen, and the state police had cameras on them, and they were able to get, contemporaneous statements from the defendant, which were played at a hearing, which the defendant saw and immediately copped a plea. So it's an excellent tool. It protects our residents from lawsuits. It protects our officers from false allegations. And I'd rather spend some money up front now, especially when we're getting it for free, and keep it going, than our officers being falsely accused of any wrongdoing. So I think it's a win-win across the board. So Brian, just please, those two things, if we have to spend the money all this year, and how do we have to go out to bid? Those are my two things.
Yeah.
And if we can get them in the buildings when they walk in with the perpetrator, I'd like to see that too, if possible. Otherwise, you can run with it.
Any other good questions, Mr. Gava?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right, so we basically can close this one out. Next up is privilege of the floor for agenda items. Anybody wishes to speak about agenda items can speak now.
Line right up behind the,
It's amazing.
How about anybody on this side of the room?
Okay. Okay, we're going to go to consent. I'll make a motion to remove number 9 out of the consent, because we're going to table that.
I have one question, too.
The consent agenda, I have another amendment for number 9, which is the Little League contract. We have to add a rider to it.
Oh, 9 is the camo.
Which one is it?
No, it's number 12.
12.
Number 12? Yes, it is number 12. 12.
And Louise had asked.
For 25 and 28.
Yeah. Number 11, where it says resolution to reauthorize the town supervisor to enter into an agreement with Dutchess County to eliminate the current requirement regarding Dutchess County Planning Department for review. Is this something new, or it's just we've done it in the past?
I'm pretty sure we did it in the past.
Okay, so I didn't know. If it was, are we eliminating something new?
It's the 239M referrals, and there are some minor things like variances, somebody's getting a porch on their side deck. The county doesn't want to see that, and the planning board doesn't
Okay,
want to
so
send
there's
it
a
over.
few things,
so-
but it's
They're all
good.
minor, they've been
Okay.
there forever, there's no real change.
Okay, thanks.
So, Madam Clerk, 12, 25, 12 will be tabled till next week?
Number 12, we're tabling.
Yeah.
Table to
Next meeting?
118, right.
items number 25 and 28 just brought to a resolution.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so,
One question, do I
sure.
have your permission to change the title of consent item number 38 from resignation to retirement?
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll do that, okay?
All right, so two things. I'll present the consent agenda contingent upon tabling number 12 to the next meeting, and following the clerk's advice on that rewording, I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Here, right?
Number 28. 25 and 28. All right, first up, resolution to approve and appoint town council Drake Loeb, PLLC. Any discussion on that?
I have one.
Go on.
Just from myself, in my opinion, we have experienced some delay in turnaround time, which is not sufficient for addressing town matters. So last year I had voted to abstain, so this year I'm a no. Thank you.
Carmeyer?
I vote yes.
No, we're not voting yet. John?
I think we're getting fine representation from Drake Loeb, and I will be voting yes.
I think they're great. They've been very responsive, and I appreciate them holding their fees flat for 2023.
Yeah, I just want to say, we might not agree on everything, but you've been consistent and pragmatic, and I respect those traits, and I'll be supporting you too.
Thank you.
All right, so roll call vote on this one. Let me read it first. Now therefore be resolved that upon the recommendation of the town supervisor, the town board, the town of Fishkill approves and appoints the firm Drake Loeb PLLC as the town councilor for 2023, and be it further resolved that the offer submitted will be $200 an hour. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the engaged agreement with the respective provider of legal services accordingly as referred herein. Be it further resolved, the resolution shall take effect immediately. I'll do a roll call vote. I'll present it as a motion for a roll call vote. Can I have a second?
Second.
John? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Daniele?
Nay.
Councilmember Istvan?
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Albro?
Yes. Next up is the planning board with the same firm. Now therefore, this is for planning board attorney. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board of the town of Fishkill approves and appoints the firm Drake Loeb for planning counselor. Be it further resolved, as per the proposed fee, the fee would be $200 an hour. Be it further resolved that changes incurred in this agreement are to be paid from available escrow funds, only with non-escrow work to be authorized in advance by the town board upon recommendation of the planning board, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor hereby authorized to execute the engagement agreement with the respective provider of the legal services accordingly as referenced herein. So when they talk about, Mr. Galvin, when they talk about escrow funds, a lot of that attorney's fees are paid by the developer, correct?
All of them.
Okay, so just want to let the residents know that. So I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Can we do a roll call on that?
Roll call vote.
I have the same, yeah, my
Go
opinion
on.
is the same as the first.
Vote.
Councilmember Daniele?
Nay.
Councilmember Istvan?
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Albro?
Yes. Next up, a resolution to authorize the town to reestablish agreement with Paycom. Any discussion?
The only thing I have to say is that I would ask that the board that we work with Sharon and HR to actually make Paycom be utilized for everybody, because, you know, I think it's a great tool for oversight, and right now the people who are on salary don't use it, you know, and department heads don't use it, so I think if we can work this year to actually have everybody use it, that would be beneficial to the town and for us, for oversight.
I think that's a good idea. You think it's a good idea, Brian?
I haven't, thought about it the way Louise has. Can you just expand on that just a little bit more, Louise?
So right now, the people who are salaried, So for example, when I went to work, there was a sign-in sheet. You'd sign in what time you went, you'd sign out what time you left. People that are salaried in our town don't have to do that. They know how many hours they work. So Sharon, who does everything basically for us, she puts in those hours into the Paycom system. There are people who work part-time hourly. They have to actually log on to the Paycom and say, I'm here at 8 o'clock. And actually, I think it's kind of like a big brother. It knows where you are when you're doing it and what time, like when you leave. So I'm just recommending that to lighten the load on Sharon's job and also to make more oversight for us to make sure that everybody is actually where they are when they're supposed to be. We kind of work into having everybody utilize that because it hasn't been utilized like that the entire time that we've had it, and it's a good system, and it costs a lot of money, so. She said the only thing she'd have to work on is the police department, because she'd still have to do that, because it's hard to do the hours and the overtime. and
So
things like
Sharon
that.
agrees that everybody should use it?
Sharon said that she was going to work on it with Suzanne to try and transition to see this year if we could.
Yeah, so-
It's not a
so-
bad thing. It's-
Okay.
it's a
So
good
the
thing.
lieutenants do sign on like what she's talking about, but we're going to get them all to do Paycom. So right now, we're at the level of below department head. We're going to take care of those people first to be on Paycom, and then we're going to start getting the department heads on Paycom also. That's the objective. Anybody object to that? It just.
Just
No, I mean,
oversight.
I'd love to hear what Suzanne.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can talk to
Sharon-
Suzanne about it, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is just more, listen,
Yeah.
the employees of the town of Fishkill were really torn down in the recession of 2008. Lots of stuff were taken away from them. In the last 3 years, we brought a lot of the stuff back. Salary, benefits, time off. But with that, there needs to be accountability, because we're accountable to the taxpayers. So we've treated them very well, but we have a financial obligation to make sure that they're coming to work when they're saying they're coming to work. And this is a simple tool where when they're here, they sign on and sign out. So that's what I'm trying to work with Susan, the HR director.
Does anybody else have any thoughts? Or-
I think it's a
Carmine,
good
you
thing.
okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now therefore it be resolved that the salaries, let me see if I get the right one here. 3.
No, you were
Number
voting
3,
right?
okay.
Paycom.
Yep. 3. All right, a resolution to authorize the town of Fishkill to reestablish the agreement with Paycom, whereas the requesting and receiving proposals from the payroll services companies, the controller and human resource and risk manager have recommended the town of Fishkill enter an agreement with Paycom to perform the town's payroll, timekeeping, and tax filing for its employees, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill has determined that it is wise, expedient, and in the best interest of the town to contract with Paycom to perform the town's payroll, timekeeping, and tax filing services for the town employees as proposed in the attached. Now therefore it be resolved that the town supervisor or his designee is hereby authorized to take all steps necessary to implement the intent of this resolution, and be it further resolved, this resolution take effect immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up is a resolution to establish the 2023 salaries. This is routine pursuant to the town law, number 27, the town board of
I
the town.
have a question for you.
Okay.
So when I looked at the entire agenda packet, I noticed there was something different. So the resolution to establish salaries, the salaries should be the ones the board agreed to. I agreed with them on all of them except the one that was increased without our consensus, which is on page 277. The board agreed to the following salary for clerk to justice from 2023 to be from $20 to $22. And in this packet, it says court clerk will have $25, and clerk to justice, underneath those two people, will have $20. So we just recently said yes to the consent agenda, and in the consent agenda, it says that those 3 people are clerks to justice. So I'm wondering, where is the job description that states one clerk has different duties than the other? There isn't, because we have no consistency on defining positions and giving raises. So $5 is 25% increase, which I think is too much. We just affirmed that, so it's not personal to the person at all. It's just a continued lack of policy that irks me, that shouldn't occur. So I think that they should all be paid 22, which is what we all agreed to.
So you're saying one went from 22 to 25?
Correct.
Can I amend this resolution to let that person stay at 25? Is there anything,
No, that's what it says.
That's what it says.
I'm saying there should be
Resolution
it says,
22.
it already says 25.
Yeah, it says right here.
Is that in the budget that we passed?
I don't know whether it's in the budget that you passed or not.
Would this supersede that? Do I have to amend anything or anything like that? Or
If
can we
you
just
have the
vote?
money in the budget, you can pay the money to the people who you've budgeted it for. You are not obligated to pay the money in the budget to the people who you've budgeted it for, except for elected officials whose salaries are set.
Okay, John?
I think what we voted on at budget time was 3 positions at $22 an hour. That was what we budgeted on. And after speaking to the judges, both of them, after speaking with Sharon, after speaking with Suzanne, it was decided we are going to pay one person $25 an hour and the 2 newest hires at $20 an hour, still being under the budget, and that's where we are.
Is it my understanding that, John, that the 2 people at 20 are replacing 2 people that left?
Yes.
And the person at 25 is therefore going to have her or his duties, but be training these other people, therefore it's at 25, or what?
The person who's making $25 an hour is the person who's been there. She hasn't been there a heck of a long time, but if we're talking about seniority, she is the person who has the seniority in that department. And both judges signed off on this.
So we're okay voting on this?
If you have the money in the budget, and John says you do, you're okay voting on it.
Okay.
Well, I just want to make reference to the point that we didn't agree to that. That may be something that you agreed to and the judges wanted you to do, but for myself, we are the board. So when we decide something, we all should have input into it and decide whether we should do it or not.
All right,
I don't think it
so-
should be done. I think it should be what we said it was done. And now we're changing the duties. So now there's a court clerk and 2 clerks to the justice, which is not what we just said was the titles that we agreed to, and it's not right. And this is part of the problem I've had from day one.
I understand that.
There's no consistency at all, so.
And when I had a meeting with Suzanne and Judge Epstein, at the time, they were in the process of hiring people, and there was just a lot of moving parts, and this is just where we came up with.
And the budget stays the same?
$5 is a lot.
The budget stays
We
the
were
same.
under budget.
We're under budget. Listen, am I allowed to do a straw vote?
You can ask their opinions, it wouldn't be a straw vote.
What's your opinion? Let it stand the way it is?
I understand Councilwoman Daniele's position. I understand Foreman's position and Rye's position. I see this as a difficult time. We've actually lost almost every single clerk we had over there. We were down to 1 clerk. I think it's justified based on what I see some other departments coming in. So I'm okay with the 2020-25.
Brian?
I'm good with
Okay.
this.
Resolution established 2023 salaries, whereas pursuant to New York State Town Law 27, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill is required to annually set salaries and hourly wages for all officers and towns and their employees. Now therefore it be resolved that the salaries of all Town officials and town employees be fixed per the attached 2023 Town of Fishkill salary schedule in accordance with the 2023 adopted budget, subject to contract negotiations, and be it further resolved, the town elected, appointed, and employees shall be paid on a biweekly basis to commence on January 1st, the first payroll to be paid on January 18th, 2023, and be it further resolved that the salary schedule hereby adopted be changed in accordance with law as determined by the appropriate town board, as appropriate by the town board. I'll present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
John? All in favor?
Can we roll call it?
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Daniele?
So I'm in agreement with everything that we actually agreed to, except for the change that was made without the majority of the board, so I'm a nay.
Councilmember Istvan?
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Albrough?
Yes. Next up is designation of the Memorial Highway for Elijah Briggs on Route 9. Any questions on that?
No.
That was my same statement. I think it should be in the War Memorial.
Okay.
Can we, just to be sure that the public does have this knowledge, it's our understanding that we vote on these and it goes to the Albany, to the legislature, who then votes on it, and then, once it's passed, they pay for the sign and they pay for the installation and they pay for everything. All we're doing is just agreeing to it and asking them to basically do it.
Asking for the courtesy, yeah, since it's a state road, we have to get permission from the state. And after we vote on this, you're going to take care of the paperwork, or?
Well, I'll prepare a draft letter for you, along with the documentation that has to go with it, and then your office will mail it to your elected representatives, and hopefully they take it up at this session of the legislature, get the law passed that you needed, and then the, I guess maybe the DOT would take care of the signage.
Yeah, can we, in the resolution, can we, like for this gentleman here, he was a Medal of Honor recipient, can we ask that a picture of the Medal of Honor is on that sign? Can we ask for any,
The cover letter that goes with the resolution will include those
a
details.
description? So like when we get to the Spanish-American War with the service ribbon, I'd like to lighten it up a little bit.
Well, in terms of them, your elected representatives drafting legislation, you're going to need to provide them with some assistance in details like that. So
Yeah, I'll do
put
that.
that in the letter, and if you have a diagram or something, so much the better.
Yeah, we got a new assemblyman, Mr. Beham, and a new Senator Rollison. They just started, and I'm sure they're looking forward to get some legislative victories. And these are pretty nice ones to do. All right. And like this one, first one will be for Elijah Briggs, a Medal of Honor recipient. It'll be on Route 9, and he's buried in Fishkill Rural Cemetery, so it'll be named after him right in front of the cemetery. Subject requesting special legislation designating a portion of Route 9 as Elijah Briggs Memorial Highway, whereas Elijah Briggs was a town of Fishkill resident and served in the Union Army during the Civil War, and whereas Elijah Briggs was wounded in service and awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military honor for bravery in the Battle of Petersburg, Virginia, on April 3rd, 1865, whereas Elijah Briggs is buried in the Fishkill Rural Cemetery located on Route 9 in Fishkill, whereas the town board feels it is appropriate tribute to Elijah Briggs to have the portion of New York State Route 9 between the town of Fishkill's municipal area boundary with the town of Wappinger and the municipal boundary of the town of Phillipstown designated by the state as the Elijah Briggs Memorial Highway. Now therefore be resolved as follows, that the town board hereby requests the state representatives to prepare and submit to the state legislature special legislation designated the portion of New York State Route 9 between Phillipstown and Wappingers, the Elijah Briggs Memorial Highway. Number 2, the certified copies of this resolution shall be sent to the state Senator Rollison and to State Assemblyman Beham, A.J. Beham. So they're just different, that's okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just when you go to adopt it, say as amended, so that language will be included.
Okay. Let the supervisor in the town interior hereby authorized to prepare, execute, and subject any documents necessary to obtain enactment of the said special legislation. I'd like to adopt this resolution as amended, including the new assemblyman and the new senator. So I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Carmine, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
So 4-1, Louise is a no. Thank you, gentlemen. Next one is requesting special legislation designating a portion of Route 9D as Sidney A. Schofield Memorial Highway. Whereas Sidney A. Schofield was a town resident of Fishkill who served as a private in the United States Army during the Spanish-American War, and whereas Sidney Schofield was killed in action while charging up San Juan Hill along with Teddy Roosevelt and had
I'm sorry, I just was thinking out loud. Imagine that, charging up San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt.
these are some
Sorry.
pretty
That's amazing.
yeah, this is pretty cool stuff here. So he died in combat, but whereas Sidney Schofield was killed in action while charging up San Juan Hill, along with Teddy Roosevelt, and camp number 126 in Fishkill was named in his honor for his ultimate sacrifice in the Battle of Santiago de Cuba on July 1st, 1898. And whereas Sidney Schofield is buried in Fishkill Rural Cemetery, located on Route 9 in Fishkill, whereas the town board feels it would be appropriate to attribute to Sidney Schofield to have the portion of New York State Route 90 between the town of Fishkill borders of Wappingers with the city of Beacon, and between the city of Beacon and the municipality of Cold Spring, designated as it's not town of Cold Spring, it would be town of Phillipstown, where the tunnel is. Can I change that, Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
It's town of Phillipstown, designated by the state as Sidney A. Schofield Memorial Highway. Now therefore, it's hereby resolved as follows, that the town board does hereby request its state representatives to prepare and submit to the state legislature special legislation designated the portion of New York State Route 9 between Fishkill and Wappinger to the city of Beacon and between Fishkill to the town of Phillipstown on 9D, designated by the state as Sidney A. Schofield Memorial Highway, and that certified copies of this resolution be to Senator Rollison and to Assemblyman Beham, and the town supervisor and town attorney are hereby authorized to prepare, execute, and submit any documents necessary to obtain enactment of the said special legislation. So I'll present this amended resolution to include the town of Phillipstown instead of the town of Phillipstown, instead of the town of Cold Spring, and add in Mr. Rollison and Mr. Beham. So I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Rye, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
4-1 again. Thank you, gentlemen. Next one up is to designate Route 52, requesting special legislation, a portion of Route 9, this would be Route 52 instead of 9, as Chief Daniel Nimmo Memorial Highway. Whereas Daniel Nimmo was the chief of the last SACM of the Wappinger people who served in the Stockbridge militia during the Revolutionary War, and whereas Daniel Nimmo was killed in action in the Battle of Kingsbridge, Van Cortlandt Park, on August 31st, 1778, and whereas Daniel Nimmo was buried in the Stockbridge Indian Burial Ground located at the northeastern corner of Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx, and whereas the town board feels it would be appropriate tribute to Daniel Nimmo to have a portion of the State Route 52 between the town of Fishkill boundary lines with the city of Beacon to the town of East Fishkill. That's going to be amended also. East Fishkill, designated by the state as Chief Daniel Nimmo Highway. Number one, the town board does hereby request state representatives to prepare and submit the state legislature special legislation designated a portion of State Route 52 of the town of Fishkill's municipal boundary with the between the town of East Fishkill to the city of Beacon, as Chief Daniel Nimmo Memorial Highway, and that certified copies of this resolution shall be sent to Senator Rollison and to New York State Assemblyman Beham. That the town supervisor and town attorney are hereby authorized to prepare, execute, and submit any documents necessary to obtain enactment of said special legislatures. I present this motion with the following corrections. Route 90 is 52, and East Fishkill instead of Wappingers, and Mr. Rollison and Mr. Beham. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Rye, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
4-1. Next up is resolution adopting the local amendment, Chapter 143, Vehicle and Traffic, to add stop signs, resolution ID 8386. Whereas the town board has before it consideration for a local law entitled, a local law amending Schedule A entitled Stop Intersections to the Town Code, 143-16 entitled Designation of Stop Intersections of Article 6 entitled Stop and Yield Intersections in the Town Code, Chapter 143 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, to add stop signs in the intersection of Arcadian Place, Shirley Avenue, at the intersection of Knoll Court and Arcadian Place. And whereas the following due notice of the town board held a public hearing on the proposed local law, now therefore be resolved the town board hereby adopts the local law, which adopts effectively upon a publication, posting and filing with the Office of the Secretary of State in Albany. So what we did here with this law was, instead of going to doing a town public hearing for every stop sign, we incorporated the new town code to allow it just to be done by resolution.
There is a provision in the local law, in addition to adding stop signs and other traffic control devices, stating that from now on, all you have to do is adopt a resolution amending the schedules, which list the traffic control devices. You don't have to enact any more local laws in regard to this.
Very good. All right. So I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is a request, special designation of State Road number 82 as Derek Brickerhoff Memorial Highway, whereas Derek Franklin Brickerhoff was a town of Fishkill resident who served as a corporal in the United States Marine Corps during the Korean War, and whereas Derek Franklin Brickerhoff was killed in action and was awarded the Purple Heart, the nation's oldest military award, for his ultimate sacrifice in the Battle of Busan, Korea, on August 7th, 1950, and whereas Derek Franklin Brickerhoff is buried in the Fishkill Rural Cemetery, located in the Fishkill, whereas the town board feels it would be appropriate tribute to Derek Franklin Brickerhoff to have a portion of the New York State route between Route 82, south end, and all the way north to the east. Is that East Fishkill or Wappingers? portion of the New York State Route 82. Route 82 starts at the triangle with the Brickerhoff House, and it ends at New York State. Is that East Fishkill?
Which one? 82?
82, where is it? It goes into East Fishkill? There's a little piece of Wappingers in there. So it's Wappingers? You sure? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
It's a little section, like, it's like a quarter mile into Wappingers into East Fishkill. Okay. South End intersection, Mr. Barber, at the town of Wappingers, designated by the state as Derek Franklin Brickerhoff Memorial Highway. Now therefore be resolved as follows, that the town board does hereby request the state's representative to prepare and submit to the state legislature special legislation designated the portion of New York State Route 82 between 82 South End at the New York State Route 52 intersection at the town of Fishkill's municipal boundary with the town of Wappingers, the Derek Franklin Brickerhoff Memorial Highway, and that certified copies of this resolution shall be sent to the state Senator Wallison and to the state Assembly Member Beham, A.J. Beham, that the town supervisor and the town attorney are hereby authorized to prepare, execute, and submit any documents necessary to obtain enactment of said special legislation. So I'll amend this to change Route 9 to Route 82 and add the senator and the assemblyman. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Carmine, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. I just wanted to reiterate, it's,
4-1.
I just wanted to make sure that the people don't think I'm not appreciative of all the heroes and the tributes that you're giving to them. I just think they should be in the war memorial, because I think signs could potentially be hazardous if you're slowing down to try and read them. That's my only objection to it.
Next up is resolution to authorize Vanderwater and Vanderwater to enter into tax certiorari proceedings with LSREF 3 space AF Chicago, Inc. Any questions, guys, on this?
No.
Now therefore, to be resolved that the town board of the town of Fishkill authorized Carl Barnett Esquire with the law firm of Vanderwater and Vanderwater from Poughkeepsie to negotiate a settlement whereby 2021 and 22 assessments will be settled in accordance with the proposed consent judgment as authorized as follows. March 21st, we'll go from 9.5 to 8.2 million, and March 1st, 2022, 9.5 to 8.75. And Kyle Barnett Esquire is authorized to sign such documents that are necessary to effectuate the settlement. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
5-0, okay. All right, so I gotta go back and do 25 and 28. Which one was 25, Louise?
That was
Resolution,
facilitated.
Okay.
Right, Resolution 11?
That was in consent, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it was under,
facilitators.
All right, you want to speak about it first before I
Yeah, if
read
you
it?
don't mind. Just for myself, in an effort to be fiscally responsible, I request that we assign only one facilitator to each project in 2023. If there is a need to require two, the request should be approved by the board. I just think that it's overkill to have two of them on every single project. I felt that way since day one, and I've seen it more this year, so that's my request to the board.
I have a question.
Sure.
Who do the facilitators report to? The building inspector?
To me.
Supervisor? Okay.
And these facilitators do work for the town. Some of it's paid, a lot of it's paid by escrow, similar to the planning board attorney. But there's other projects, like we're working on the highway garage building, and I have one of them working on that. So it's a quasi type of thing. And I can tell you, there's been a lot of things going on in the town of Fishkill, building our infrastructure, our capital projects, and they have been a great help. I believe when me and Louise first got in, I think we had maybe 4 or 5 of them, and we're down to 2.
There was another one left, I think.
So 6?
No, I think there was one left. No, there's 2. There was 3. Now
Okay,
there's 2.
anyway, there's 2 left.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know if I would be able to get all these projects done without their support. Her concern about them both working on same same projects. It happens because sometimes one's not here and the other one's here. It happens. And I need that flexibility to say to the guy to do work on this. And if I can't have that, it's going to limit my ability to get things done.
Does that happen often,
Yes.
Listen, I can,
depending on the size of the project?
depending on, you know, it was a big operation. You know, we did a salt shed, we did the, salt shed was about 3 million plus, and then we did the Beacon Hills Water District, which was over 5 million. And it's a lot of paperwork, and sometimes it bleeds into one other's assignment. So this happens, I can maybe tamp down on it, but it's gonna happen, and saying we can't do it is just gonna slow down government.
I didn't
It's not
say
gonna
we
be
can't do it.
good.
I just said that there should be one, and if there really needs to be a second one, that the board should be aware of it and approve it.
No, you said, yeah, I can't wait for.
What I said, in an effort to
Something
be
happens, I can't wait for a town
fiscally
board meeting.
responsible, I request that we assign one facilitator each project in 2023. There's no need to have 2 facilitators on the roof project. You have Carmine, you have Brandon there, you know, there's no need to have it. The water projects, we have Mike from Camo, so we should have 1 person, not 2.
It's gonna happen from time to time.
I don't have any comment. I mean, I understand Louise's point, but I also can appreciate how you might need some flexibility, so I just can't really make a comment.
Okay. A resolution to reappoint project facilitators of town projects. Whereas the town board has established and adopted a multi-capital plan, whereas the town board of Town of Fishkill requires the service of project facilitators to help the town to manage elements of the town's capital plan, whereas Joseph DeFrancisco and Paul Bozak have the qualification and experience in project management, engineering, water, sewer operations, and government requirements required for the role, and whereas the town seeks to reappoint Joseph DeFrancisco and Paul Bozak as consultants to facilitate projects for the Town of Fishkill in order to aid to the management of various projects undertaken by the town. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the Town of Fishkill does hereby authorize the supervisor to engage in the services of John D. Francisco and Paul Bozak as project facilitators for the Town of Fishkill. Be it further resolved, the town board shall compensate Joseph D. Francisco at a rate of $75 per hour and Paul Bozak at the rate of $58 per hour for the service of project facilitators with funds available from the town budget lines for the various projects. And be it further resolved that the supervisor hereby authorized to execute a contract for these services. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, roll call vote.
Councilmember Daniele,
If it's not 1 for each project, I'm a nay.
Councilmember Istvan,
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman.
Yes.
Councilmember Rye,
Yes.
Supervisor Albro.
Yes. Okay, number 1 is the establishment for the elected officials' salary. Town supervisor makes $62,000, town justice $33,000, town board members $10,000, highway superintendent $84,000, town clerk $75,000. Louise, you wanted me to pull that out of consent. What was your comments?
Yeah, I don't know if I can, I'm just going to make the comment.
Make a
So
comment.
I make a motion, I don't know if I can make a motion, to amend the justice salaries to remove the $1,000 increases. They created their own policies regarding salaries, we can as well. We decide. They shouldn't tell us after we've already decided that they're changing the rules to create new positions, titles, and giving people more money per hour to now their court clerk. So for myself, I'd remove each $1,000 that they should be getting, or they were told that they were going to get.
Anybody else want to do that? Be it further resolved that the salaries of the persons holding the aforesaid position shall be paid over 26 pay periods throughout the year 2023. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
John Foreman, roll call vote.
Councilmember Daniele,
Nay.
Councilmember Istvan,
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman.
Yes.
Councilmember Rye,
Yes.
Supervisor Albro.
Yes. No items for special consideration. New and old business, Councilwoman.
We're still working on the banners, so this year, Sharon has finally, she created a line number for me. I'm working on getting the paperwork I need from the iron worker and the banner maker. So once I have that, then I'll reach out to the people who sent in applications to tell them how to send the money to me. So we're progressing along. That's it.
Carl?
I'm good, Mr. Supervisor.
John?
Yeah, I have one item to add to the agenda for January 18th, and that is salaries for the position of police chief and lieutenants. That's for discussion and a resolution.
We just
Do we have
passed
to
the
vote
budget.
on this?
We just passed the budget.
Yeah, we just passed
Yeah.
the budget.
You're going to have to amend the budget.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a discussion
Okay,
first.
we'll
I would say.
make an amendment for the 18th.
Wow, give it all away. Did you have a reply email to that, Supervisor, that I think I read?
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do it.
You were going to have the chief come and discuss it?
Sure.
So we're going to double their salaries? Is that what you want to do?
I'm sorry?
You're going to double their salaries?
I don't have a resolution to do that, so I don't know.
I think we need to look into everything before we go jumping into.
So Mr. Gaba, so what's going on is they've been getting a COVID waiver, so they've been able to work over their $35,000 limit, and I guess it's bled into 2023, and they want these pay raises, and they're going to be there forever.
Pay raises are forever,
Yeah.
but you have a request to put it on the agenda for discussion and resolution.
Yes.
If you want them both, then I believe all you need is a second, and it'll go on unless you're willing to consent to put it on the agenda.
Well, I think we should discuss it first.
I agree.
That's fine.
Make an item for discussion for pay raises for chief and the lieutenants. Just last year, the board voted to give these guys take-home cars. We just passed the budget. Should have been in the budget. We went through this last year about this budget stuff.
I think the money is in his budget to get these salary changes done. We're not going to have to amend our budget.
Well, then we should be looking at that budget if there's extra money laying around just to be utilized like that. But that's a question.
Listen, we'll let the chief come in and we can discuss it.
And that would have to be like the supervisor said, every year pending. They may have the money this year, but we'd have to find it every year in perpetuity.
I like that word.
What's that?
Perpetuity.
That's a Shark Tank term.
No, it's just that,
So that means we're going to be spending money every year.
yeah, we're up to like, I don't know, $3.6 million. We're spending a lot of money, and the state has legislation to allow an increase, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we would do something before the state does something.
Well, the state is also still in COVID territory, so they are allowed to make they're allowed to make over the $35,000
So
that
what
they're
hap-
being paid as we speak.
So what happens when we go to 25 and that COVID thing doesn't work again? They take that away. Do they get bounced back down to 35?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. So put that in for a discussion? Because I don't think that law is going to pass. All right. No business. Mr. Gaba, I discussed with you about the thing with Camo wanting to take over the district. What can we do to get that done? You said a resolution?
The board has, as you're aware, conditionally accepted dedication of lines for Fishkill Woods and Merritt, or Van Wyck at Merritt Park. In order for those offers of dedication to be finalized, you need to have a resolution by the town board determining that all the conditions have been met. All the payments have been made, the documents for recording have been provided, and so forth and so on. We have the documents for recording. I believe that KMO is ready to certify that the work has been or can be done for the funds that you have. So if you have a letter, memo, email, whatever you have, indicating that the conditions have been met, we should have a resolution saying that the conditions have been met and that the dedication is complete, and the town will be assuming control of the lines in the pump station.
So what's happening is Camo's been paid to make the repairs, but he's got to order the parts. By the time he gets the parts and everything comes in, it could be another year before we take over the district. So he wants to take over the district. Everybody okay with Mr. Gavin making a resolution to let that happen?
Yes.
As long as you have something from KMO in writing saying that the funds on hand are, because once you accept those lines, you're not getting any more money from
So what
KMO.
kind of letter you need from Camo?
A letter saying that all the work that's indicated in the offers of dedication to be done by KMO can and will be done for the funds you have in hand. You're sitting on
Can you do that?
25, I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
About that.
So I need a letter from Camo, Michael, in the morning. Send him an email, say that's what you need from Mr. Gaba.
Yeah.
And then send that to Mr. Gaba, and he'll do the resolution. And put that up for the next meeting. Next meeting is,
18.
thank you, January 18th. We're going to go into executive session to discuss litigation. I'll make a motion to leave the regular business and to go into executive session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.